So, we'll make the most of it. There we go. Let me hit go live on YouTube. We are up, we are running, we are rocking. I got Webull open. I got CoinMarketCap open. TipRanks ready to go. Watch the burn so we can check out the burn rate that we have on Ethereum. There we go. Let me share out my screen so you can see that. By the way, an absolutely astounding and wonderful great hair day today. Sure it's going to be a good day. There we go. Get my screen share up and running. Toss Webull up here. I got Tesla's chart open, and they are down about 1.38%. The pre-market back down under $680 per share. We also have Xpeng, NIO, Lee. Those are also down. There's a ton of things that are down in the pre-market today. So we have news from the Fed about where we see the economy going from here, about bond tapering, about inflation running a little bit hotter than they expected. And so with losing the easy money policy sooner, that would be something that certainly is going to be negative for the stock market. It's going to put downward pressure on it. And then also when we talk about increased rate of inflation, we start to wash out some of those future earnings because they're always backed up to today's dollars when we do our discounted cash flow models. So what that does for the growth stocks that we like to watch, that are so near and dear to us, is that it also really mitigates their ability in order to become profitable or to really put up those bigger numbers, or they have to put even more greater numbers in order to show more significance. And so what we get then is downward pressure. We get some selling pressure. So really what we need is inflation to subside. And, the easy money policies, we'll see what happens there. We also have Delta variant news. For that, just waiting for that to subside. We need those vaccines and the boosters, vaccines to come out for the children that are under 12 years of age, which I believe are somewhere between this fall and early 2022 is when we should hear from Moderna and Pfizer. And they're right now looking at the minimum dosage. So the minimum safe dosage, where they're trying to see if children's bodies will produce the antibodies necessary in order to combat against the coronavirus. So for those of us who do side with the vaccine and have children, I have one child who is under 12 years of age and one who is 12 years of age. So the 12-year-old got the vaccine. The one who's under 12 is not yet eligible. So, that's something that we keep our fingers crossed about, that we hear sooner than later that it is going to be safe for them and it is going to be effective for them. And given the safety and the effectiveness being there, then we can jump on that sooner and feel a little bit better and a little bit safer about it. So back to the particular stock market that we have here. By the way, let me get the comments up and running. So we got Pyro here and Poppy. So good morning to both of you. Good morning to Pyro. Good evening to Poppy, being from Japan. Thoughts on DXD Pro shares, what the catalyst event would be, make it move it up. All right, we'll take a look at that one. So let me just address Tesla real quick right here and NIO. We'll also talk a little bit about crypto. We got about 7 minutes until the market opens. ALPP, by the way, closing a $2.2 million deal contract with one of their thermodynamics company that they acquired. I believe it was either early this year or it was late last year was that when that acquisition took place. So good news for them. Still waiting on that NASDAQ update. So let's look at Tesla intraday. Get off the daily chart here. All right, so looking intraday, we can see that little bit of drop that Tesla had. Tesla AI Day taking place today, 5 p.m. You know what? I forgot to look at the time zone. Maybe we'll get that news. Maybe it's here. Sometimes it's not here. Let me see. Confronts tough questions about Tesla's technology. Yeah. Let me see. Reuters or Reuters. I always called it Reuters, and I like to watch Meet Kevin. I think that he's got some very good points that he puts out and has a very broad view of things. He's one of my favorite. Stockmo is actually for talking about fundamentals of specific companies. Stockmo is definitely number one by far there. So shout out to those two. And there's other YouTubers too as well, but I just wanted to say that in this moment. So let me see. Actually, we'll just do a Google search for Tesla AI Day, see if it's 5 p.m., if it's California time. AI Day time, there we go. All right. Event at 5 p.m. Palo Alto, California. So it's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern time that we get the Tesla AI Day. Hopefully, we get a nice inside look at Dojo, which is their supercomputer and the ability to establish a neural network. It has Tesla chips in it. They're trying to recruit hardware and software designers that can work on this AI development and really make these awesome machine learning platforms that really bring us more to the front, or bring autonomous driving more to the front. And yes, there are safety concerns, and I don't think that there's any surprising safety concerns over letting the computer drive versus letting a person drive. And you know, watching that training play out over time, and you know, Dojo, I would like to see how it compares against other supercomputers that are out there, and the deep neural nets that we have for the machine learning, and see really where the leaders are. I know that IBM Watson, I think, might still be the name of the computer. That might be old information at this point in time. But IBM has deep learning, machine learning, and AI capabilities. Microsoft is also up in there. So those are just some of the big names that are out there. I'm sure that there's some other ones in the private sector, and maybe even some other publicly traded ones. But yeah, so the Dojo thing is actually pretty cool to me, and I would absolutely love to hear some of the specs and the stats that they have on that, and see what else they have to say for AI Day. I don't know if we'll see a big catalyst coming out of it that's going to move the stock price. We could, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't really. Well, honestly, 8 p.m. Eastern time, we're not going to see anything newsworthy coming out that's going to affect even things in the after hours. Really, we'd be looking for what would happen at the very beginning of the pre-market tomorrow, so on Friday. Let's stop by NIO. So NIO down 2.5%. So they have, there was a nice little jump that they had. And now it's right back down again. Okay, so for NIO, they have everything, we'll call it FUD-worthy, that Tesla does, and then they also have inflation to worry about, and they also have the tightened monetary policies coming up, like the entire stock market does in the U.S. So all of that combined, so I still think that these are really good deals that we're getting on these prices, and I really think that DCA is the phrase of the day, dollar cost averaging. That while we see the markets dropping down, that we take opportunities to increase our positions that we feel high convictions over. So you know, getting these opportunities, I didn't know if we'd see prices below 40 again for NIO anytime soon. I thought 700 would hold a little bit longer for Tesla, but again, that was in light of not having any of that negative news or macroeconomics that we can't really anticipate. And well, we got both of those things. So we have and even geopolitical, if we want to talk about Afghanistan possibly playing a part in the stock market price action as well. So those are just different things to consider. We have Faiz in here. Hi, Doc. What do you see NIO stock in 2025? Well, they threw a curveball at us, Faiz. So the curveball that we got thrown at us went from working on their luxury automobiles to introducing and I don't know when they're going to come out with the less luxury automobiles. Their lower model lines that run around, I think, 30,000 ish US dollars to start. That's going to cost them money. It's going to take them a longer amount of time to be profitable. They do have the experience coming through making the luxury vehicles, so maybe they can translate that well into production for those other automobiles that they're going to make. With that said, I really think that this is a three-figure stock by 2025 easy, that we get up to that $100 to $150 range. And I know other prices have been put out there, but honestly, so from right now, if we make it up to 150, we're looking at like just under 4 times, so like 3.5 to 4 times its current value, to get us up to that $150 mark by 2025, assuming that they do really well, that their name, even though it's under a different name for that line of automobiles that they're making, that's not the luxury models, not going under the NIO name, they'll still be produced by NIO. So those would be, you know, if they do as well as the luxury vehicles do, and if they have that sort of notoriety and prestige and following, still backed by the government, by the Chinese government, assuming all those things hold, going 150 by 2025, I don't think it's unreasonable. Again, I don't know when they're going to produce those. I'd have to go back and look at those numbers for when they plan on having those plants up and running, and when we get the information coming out about those, about the number of vehicles produced, about the deliveries, anything demand information. Those are all things that are wild cards coming up for NIO that we want to know. We do know that there is high demand for the luxury vehicles, that they're increasing production, and we also believe that rotating out of the chip shortage in 2022 should be a really awesome year for NIO moving forward. So we're just going to have to watch it play out and see if our predictions come to fruition on a company like NIO. All right, so I said that I would talk about the DXD Pro shares for Pyro. Computer's playing tricks on me at the moment. Come on. Yeah, I don't know if you can see the lag on my screen. You can probably see the lag taking place. It's like I click, I wait, I don't press anything, and then there we go. All right. So there we go. I get these hangups when I do the live streams. There we go. Because it uses up so much of my system resources, I try to close things out so that I have less things running, and then you know, I get these hiccups anyway. So it is most definitely my computer that's lagging, because I can't even bring up my my menu bar at the moment. So give me just 1 second. Let's go over here to tip ranks. You can at least make that come up here. All right. So I don't know if we'll get an estimate for something like an ETF. However, we might at least get some inside information into the company as this loads up here for us. So it looks like it's at 917 at the moment. By the way, we are at market open, and wow, that's really, we see from the price chart here that this has really trailed off over time. So we were at one point up at 17, and we lost about half the value, coming down to about $9 per share. So quite the bearish trend on that one. Let's see if Weeble's cooperating with us. It's not. There we go. So there we go. All right. So if it's I see that it's for shorting. Hang on a second here. So this would be an inverse ETF. So we'll give it just a moment. This will fire back up. In the meantime, we'll look over here. We'll go jump to crypto, and then we'll be right back to stocks as soon as Webull decides to open. There's something sucking up my system resource. I just don't see what it is. So in crypto at the moment, we see Bitcoin rocking under 45. So around the mid 44s at the moment. Ethereum keeps jumping back and forth between just under 3,000 and just over 3,000. I took the opportunity with it near $3,000 to make a small dollar cost averaging into a little bit more Ethereum along the way. I said before that I think that it's going to take a rest, and it's okay if it rests for a little while. And we see Bitcoin also resting after the most recent run that they made. It'll probably retrace a little bit before we finally get that next turnaround. So it's just a matter of when that next turnaround happens for us. We're not going to have all the institutional interest in this all of a sudden flop one day, you know, at least in the near term, maybe in the very, very distant future. So, you know, maybe decades down the road that we get some sort of alternative. But the T+0 alone in the DeFi space, I think, is something that's highly sought after, and also cutting out a lot of the middle people that it would take in order to move money around, and making it cheap to move money around. I think is also something that's highly desirable, not only on the individual level, but also on the corporate and institutional level as well. So Ethereum being a big player in that space, in the DeFi space, in the DEX space, in the DApp space, I really think that we're going to see a lot of really good things coming out of Ethereum. All right, let's see. Let's pop open Webull here. Let's see if maybe now it will cooperate with us a little bit more. There we go. The ultra short. So I just want to see investment before fees and expenses corresponding to inverse minus 2x. Okay, so gotcha. So this will inversely double to what we have here. So for that, that means that we need to look at the Dow Jones itself. So I like Google Finance's charts for just looking at the markets quickly because we can quickly switch between them. So go here, and so having that double impact that we will have. So if the Nasdaq drops 1%, then we get a 2% gain, for example, with what we have for DXD. So let me close that out. There we go. We'll pop that back open, and let's go to where's our Dow? There it is. It did say Dow Jones, right? Yep. Okay. There we are. Do you think ETH will drop a little bit more? Bill, it's definitely possible that we're going to see Ethereum drop a little bit more from where it's at. So looking at the Dow that we have right here, you can see the sort of climb that it's taken over the past year. I don't think any of that's surprising to anybody. Let's drop down to the 6-month window. You can see we're still sort of making that climb upwards. And, you know, depending on what sort of money gets put out, it's something that could still climb a little bit. Let's go out to the 5-year for just a moment, just to see how much it's risen since the pandemic hit. You can see that we're well up above those levels. And I don't honestly think from the climb that we were on pre-pandemic that we're still sort of on the same trajectory here. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a decent pullback over the next few weeks in the stock markets after the climbs that we've been taking recently. So something that we would have, and I want to see your DXD Pro shares. What is the catalyst event that would make it move up? So what we'd be looking for would be a drop in the Dow in order to make DXD go up, because it does move inversely and it magnifies it by a factor of 2, or multiplies it by a factor of 2. So whatever we see drop in the Dow, we should see go up in DXD. So with the Dow, if it is down today 0.41%, we go to DXD, we're up 0.77% right now. So it is moving inversely to what the Dow does, and it has opened up from that. So if you want to know what's coming up, you just watch for things that are going to drop the Dow. So the things that are going to change for the industrials that are coming up. So we want to watch those if we see like economic slowdown, for example, that we're not getting the sort of growth out of the industrial sector for you know, what there has been, or if that outlook has changed to not be as strong as has already been priced into the market, we could see it drop in the Dow Jones, and then that would cause what we have here for DXD to go up. All right, let's move on to some of the other ones. Thank you for the question, Pyro. So let me see for percent change here. All right, Macy's having a really nice day today, up 6%. They had some big news. I think it was it 5 million new customers? Let me see. Former Macy's, they're positioned very well. Earnings too worried. Toys R Us. There we go. 5 million. Macy's customers said Q2 attracted nearly 5 million new customers to Macy's. So that sort of growing interest in Macy's did a lot to put some of the price action back into their stock. So having the great quarter that they did, and talking about future outlook also being very positive for Macy's, we see a really nice jump in their stock price. That's why it's gapping up today, even with some of the other market pressures that we have. Holding it down, it just mutes some of this jump that we have. So in the retail space, Macy's being a big retailer is really, really good for other retail stores in general. So when we look at this, let me see. I think that they also said that Delta variant, that they would not be closing their doors, that they would remain open. So I didn't read the news article, and I was just looking at a few headlines. I don't really track a lot with what Macy's is doing. But as far as retail stores goes and retail stocks, I think Macy's can be a good indicator, and the fact that they've rotated really well recently is a good sign for them. And you can see that right now they're trading right across what was resistance. So if they can stay above that, it'll act as support. And they have they have a little bit of room. They have room for about another 5% up from where they're at before they hit really strong resistance across these three tops here. And it looks like, but prior to this, that it was looking at the 50-day simple moving average that we have here as support levels. So we'll watch how that plays out. And it looks like now we're up above the opening price. We might have a green candle day today for Macy's. Senseonics, where'd it go? There it is. I haven't looked at this one in a while. They're actually using the 50-day a little bit more as resistance, and they've leveled off recently. Their RSI is in bullish territory, but they've traded in a range, it looks like. So down from just below $3 to about $3.25-ish. So what is that? So $3.25, like 8% range from top to bottom. So they could resist here and then tumble right back down. So this would be one if it's able to be shorted easily, and it should be. That I could see people taking a short position here and then riding it back down to about that $3 level before turning back around to a long position. So just playing it on the short term. And their implantable technology that they have, I haven't tracked it, like I said, but I do know from reading about it before that they're working on FDA approval for their 180-day implantable device for tracking for glucose monitoring. One of the downsides is frequent calibration, and also that it's pretty invasive compared to the competition that it has, coming out of Dexcom being a huge one. I know recently my niece, she used to have to have this little tube, and then sometimes it would get for her CGM, and it would get yanked on, and it would get ripped out of the site, and she'd have to redo the site. And I think that they would start to redo that site every 10 days or something. And more recently, it's just a patch that she sticks usually somewhere on her arm. And my mother actually has the same thing. So that to me is some competition for Senseonics. If they can get that implantable up to the 365 mark, and they can work on calibration where it doesn't need to be nearly as frequent for the continuous glucose monitoring, then I think that they have a little bit more going for them. Until then, I think that we're going to see sort of that cap on their price action, and that they still need a decent amount of work to live up to their potential. It is a cool idea, and it's one that I think has a lot of promise to it, and I think that for some people it makes a lot of sense. I know that there's a lot of other people who, whether the type 1 or type 2 diabetes, who said, why would I want to go through that? Why would I want that implantable? And you got to listen to those voices, because in an actual statistical setting, I think that there's validity to what they're saying. So this is one might be cool to watch. You get some decent price action out of it, and it could possibly hit resistance and hold on to resistance and come back down to around that $3 mark in the near term. There you go. Yeah, if the market pulls back, most growth stocks haven't recovered from the last pullback yet, and that will be ugly. So while we haven't fully recovered from the last pullback, and let's bring up our friend NNDM while we're at it. So when we look at this for NNDM, and we look at the price action that it had going all the way back to right here we go. So beginning to middle of February, so somewhere in that week between the February 9th and February 16th is where we see a lot of peaks happen for those high growth stocks and the ones that had a lot of momentum to them. And they went way over, incredibly over where a lot of the places where they should be. They went to astronomical valuations, and then following that hype, and then we started to get a lot of the selling off from the big money, and then we got a lot of fear selling, and that took us a long time and took a huge psychological hit to bring us all the way down to these levels. We didn't recover all the way. Some stocks recovered about halfway, some recovered about over halfway, but then we get a little bit more of a sell-off. So hopefully we took advantage of moving upward. And in my Discord, I said on a number of occasions since we've that middle of May, don't be afraid to take profit when it comes your way. And so, we had that sort of time. We started to feel good about ourselves and about the trades that we were in. And for a lot of high growth, we started seeing this trailing off again that happened from the end of June until now. So what's that? About a month and a half. So what we've also seen is that meeting these levels that we saw before, stocks started getting cheap around these levels. And so really, that they are, some of them are becoming really good deals. And I brought up NMDM because I really think that at these levels, being in the mid fives like it is, look what happened when we put in that new low, which is really astounding to put in that low, that we had a nice strong day after it. So NNDM starts to get just a little cheaper around these levels, even though it's a very high risk company. And we have a lot of reasons to hold our breath, we'll say, on NNDM. I still think that we're not going to see much lower than where we're currently at, given their cash position alone. All right. So there's I will say also in the Discord over at the Patreon. So if you want to check out my Patreon, by the way, that link is down in the description. But in the Discord, there's been a lot of talk about not really feeling too good about where the markets are at. That they're very toppy and they're very choppy, and just sort of not feeling too certain or confident about the position. And those shaky feelings, when we start to see a sell-off, then that feeling of uncertainty starts to feel a little bit like confirmation. I knew I was right. I knew this was coming. And, when we start to feel confident again, hopefully we start to see the prices bottoming out and we take advantage of those bottoms. Well, that gets into market timing. That's why I said that DCA is the phrase of the day. As a matter of fact, it might even be the phrase of the week or the next few weeks, that we take little bits where we can. Careful always not to go too heavy and to try and catch a falling knife. So just keep that in mind in the market in general. So another area where I think that we're starting to get into, I keep talking about this one because it really is one of my favorites, Digital Turbine. So I was surprised to see it go under 60, and then really surprised to see it drop down out of the mid 50s, and now we're actually down below $50 per share. We're down to $48 per share. And I just think that, even if you look at the RSI, we're definitely in oversold territory. And with the market bias that we have today, we just get more selling pressure coming out of that. And they're just an awesome company that continues to put on strong growth numbers. One of the mitigating factors that might be affecting, actually I have two that I want to mention, but one could be the outlook for cell phone sales and mobile device sales, because in the Android market, what we're looking for is strong numbers there, because that's the way they make their money, is by having their software, and they get their ad revenue from things that are put on those OEM devices. And so if we get a slowdown in mobile devices, then that could be something that could be affecting their stock price and their future outlook. I don't think that it affects them to the way that it merits putting them down under $50 per share. Maybe it would take away from that 107 that they're at on tip ranks and maybe bring them down. I was reading one analyst estimate on it that put it in a discounted cash flow model. And they also use weighted average cost of capital and came up at $76 per share, which even from this price still represents a 50% upside from where they're currently at. So that's 50% up to 2x should it fill out over time. So I think we're seeing a mix of market bias, and then and it could also be mobile developments. We want to see how they're expected to grow over time, and play that into what we see with Digital Turbine. But the other thing that I think is affecting it, I think it's treating apps in a Digital Turbine in a way that's negative, is that switch from the APK, the Android package, where you download, if you're on the Google Play Store and you download something to your Android device, you download that software for every possible device with the APK. You download it. So I'm terrible at, because I have an Apple phone. I don't really think too much about Android devices, but so let's say that you have 5 different models of Samsung that are all bundled together in that APK, and you have to have all the resolutions set, and you have to have all the individual settings set and all the different nuances set, and you're downloading just for that one device, you're downloading all that compatibility for all the other devices that app can run on. And instead, Google back in 2018 said, hey, we're going to switch over to AAB, which is an Android application bundle, I believe is what it stands for. And then with that switch, with that file type switch, let's say that you have the newest Samsung phone. When you download that app from the App Store, you're only downloading the pieces of that app that are for that specific phone. So it lowers the network congestion. It also lowers the amount of space that it takes on your phone. It increases the efficiency of that download because you're downloading for less time, which translates to better battery efficiency because you're not using as much power in order to get a hold of those apps or any subsequent updates that come out. So it really is a good change. And Digital Turbine is not blindsided by this. They knew about the change back in 2018, and they put in compatibility for it by 2019. So they're already 2 years into making their updates and their modifications. So seeing this under $50 per share, I think that we're going to end up seeing a nice bounce. So what we have now, especially on the gap down that we see today, I think tomorrow, as long as the market bias is with us, as long as we don't get another huge sell day tomorrow in the market, I think we're going to see a strong green candle that brings us back up into the 50s tomorrow. So in the short term, as a small, like 1 day swing trade, I think that we're going to see some positive price action come back into this if the market's with us. If the market goes against us, against our long positions, and we get further selling, then that sell pressure, I think, is going to negatively impact it, and we could trade sideways or not have nearly as strong of a day tomorrow for opening higher than we are today. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's see. No problem, Pyro. Bill says they said Mesa was about a business. If the market pulls back, okay, we read that. No sales. They need to figure out how to watch YouTube and still be able to check the market without having to leave the room. All right, let me see. So we got Macy's, Senseonics, ALPP. There we go. So for Alpine 4, one of the reasons that it's green today is that $2.2 million contract out of Africa that they locked in. So we get a little bit of positive price action there. We're still trading under $3 per share. We had the 50-day cross the 200-day, so that little death cross going on. And you can see how well the 200-day acted as resistance when we popped up strongly over $3, resisted, and then we tumbled back. And now we have the 50-day returning as resistance for us. And now we're below that. The lows are getting higher, so that's a good sign. The highs are even getting higher. So now it's a matter on this next run that we make, this next push. We want to see the lows not get any lower. We want them to go higher, and we also want the highs to go higher. To give us more confirmation, our RSI did peak over 50 just for a little bit, and now we're back just under it. But you can see that building momentum that we have along with the building price, and we have some volume confirmation coming right along with it. Not strong volume confirmation, but just a little bit of it. And we're still waiting on that, on the NASDAQ update. Did they get the listing approved, or did they get it, or was it not approved? So that's something that we're waiting on for ALPP. And I think there's a lot of people that are holding on to it. And there's a lot of people holding positions around this level. And that's why you see it flattening out along this level right here, is that the bulls are holding on to it right around that $2.50 mark. Down to, looks like 240 to 250 might be the area of support that we have that's strongly holding on, even through the big sell-off that we had. We're still holding tight. Big risk, small company. But for those of you who enjoy this one, I have a long position on this one. So, you know, I think that is just something to watch on and hang on to. Arcimoto, by the way, I think that they're going to grow. I think it's going to be a slow start for them. And I think that some of this negative news, you know, I think it's understandable that they reduced their delivery number from over 500 down to 425 for the end of 2021. But they are expanding in other markets, and they're advertising. They are just beginning. There's going to be a lot of doubt for them. Of course, the news that affects all the growth stocks certainly isn't good for them either. So they're not profitable. They just started making the deliveries. They did come out and do some corrections to the reports. So they went from like 74 delivered in Q2 to like 78 delivered in Q2. You can look at the news and look at the numbers on them that they made those corrections. Let me see. Yeah, Arcimoto 8K shows corrections to vehicle productions for Q1 Q2 2021 there. My goodness. So, okay, so they corrected both Q1 and Q2 of 2021. I wonder what the reason is for that. So with that big drop that we have, I think that if people do like Arcimoto as a company, I mean, to me, it looks like, an opportunity, and I certainly wouldn't take everything out of my piggy bank and throw it at it. But it's intriguing. I still don't have a position in this, but I definitely think more about it now that the price dropped off than I did when it was on this little run that it had right here. The advertisements started coming out. They're certainly going to be pumping that ad revenue. I don't know if it came out on their Q2 or not, but it will definitely come out on their Q3 that you'll see some of that money that has been pumped out. Well, some of the revenue that they brought in being spent out again on advertisement. But I really think that they need that if they have any chance at survival. And I really do think that they have a nice little niche space that they're going to fill out beautifully as long as they can really hit their scaling. They do have a facility that they purchased. They need the old owners to move out of it so that they can move into it. And that's really going to help their verticals and it's going to help their production numbers and their scalability. So just beginning. And so sometimes you can wait for nothing. And this could turn out to be nothing. If you're an early investor, sometimes you can be an early investor and it can pay off handsomely. So do your own research, due diligence, see what you think. Like I said, I don't currently have a position, but I definitely think about it more often than not, especially since this gap down that we have in their prices. All right. So let's see what else we got going on here. There's another one of our tiny ones, ABML, hanging on to decent support, right around $1.40 per share. So they did drop down below that. They've actually been treating the 200 period at the 200-day pretty well as support up until when they break it here, the end of July. And then they fell, they peaked up above it just for a little bit, had a double top resist around $1.70, and then have been selling below it ever since. As far as I know, I believe that they've started clearing the ground in Fernley, Nevada to start building their test facility, that they also purchased a small lot of land. I want to say it was like 13 acres or something as a storage facility down the road from Tesla. So this is it's a lithium recycling play. And, they're really hoping to do quite well from the infrastructure package as far as having things produced in America coming from America. So I think Doug Cole's the CEO's name. He said in his video interview that something like 1% of lithium is actually produced in the United States. So trying to go American made, but with all the demand for lithium batteries, that lithium recycling is one of the ways that on the United States soil is one of the ways that we can actually make sure that the lithium that's going into our products in some way comes from the United States, even if it's not directly from mining in the United States, to be from that green processing, if you will, something that would really help out lithium production, getting lithium ready for the different battery packs that we have for like the EV movement, for example, and also energy storage from the renewable energy sources. So small play, huge amounts of risk on this one. This one's definitely even riskier than what we had with ALPP, which is already getting contracts and already has acquisitions. Between the two of them, I would say that ALPP is the stronger of the two plays. This is one that could have some really good upside potential, but has just, we need that facility built. We need to see the results of what they can do with the recycling and how well they'll be able to scale their performance with the lithium recycling. All right. So ETH's still hanging on to that $3,000 mark. You can see those lines that I had drawn in there about support and resistance, and we still haven't come down to this support line right around. It looks like the high 28s that we have right here. So just a tad under $2,900 per Ether token. And I actually took a picture. I was talking to my wife last night, and this is total like superstition numerology garbage. Okay, this is absolutely not advice, nor is it something that I believe in, but I thought that it was something fun. So we have a pillow that says we belong together. And the funny thing is, and I hope that you guys can see this. Let me turn up the brightness on my phone. I look up from talking with her, and I see this on my phone. Can you guys see that? So belong, all I could see from it was long, and then together, all I could see from that was ether. And I just started cracking up in the moment that that it says long Ether, because I am long on Ethereum in the Ether token, and so to look up and see that, and it, you know, is the rest was hidden by my lamp that you couldn't really see. The rest of it is like shedding a light on being long Ether, and I just thought it was a little bit of fun. So I wanted to share that with you guys. So I hope that you could read that on my phone, and I hope that you at least got a little bit of a smile out of it. Let's move on from there. Cardano, how we doing? All right. So right now, sitting at 210, they are hanging on nicely. So we have this little bit of tapering across the highs on Cardano, and notice these lows coming up a little bit. This isn't going to be a perfect formation for us. However, if we do break these highs, let me draw a little bit in here from this most recent price action that we have on Cardano. There we go. So there's our flagpole. There we go. And then maybe this isn't going to be perfect. We're kind of, I'll extend this one out a little bit for us. Maybe even move it up just a little bit. There we go. So there's our flag shape for us. And right now we keep bumping up against this sort of slant resistance that we have here. And we keep on hitting against this slant support. If you want to know what's going to happen next, watch these lines. Because off of these lines, if we break up above this one in the near future, so whether it's today or it's the next day, if we get the large body of the candle coming up this way, we get a nice sign that we can enter a nice little bull run for us on Cardano. If we break down below this slant line significantly, you can see we have these tails, which is okay that they're peaking below. Like I said, it's not a perfect formation here, but we can also break to the downside. So that's something to watch. And I want to remind you that we are near, let me see, where's this at? This is actually below that $2 mark. I'm not going to be surprised if we actually hold. Let me get my cursor as close as I can here. There we go. That's close enough. So I'm within a couple of thousandths of being at the $2 mark. I'm not going to be surprised to watch $2 hold as long as we don't get a significant sell-off in the crypto space. That $2 I think is going to hold for Cardano in the near future, and I think that they're going to rally strongly from where they're at over time. So watching this go up to even $3 by the end of 2021, you know, assuming that all goes well with the rest of the crypto space, and I think that crypto is going to be astounding as the years play out for it, especially Ethereum. Cardano, I think, has a nice little niche for itself, and I think that there's going to be a good place for Cardano that they're going to do well from where they're currently at. All right, let's see what else we got. Riot, Marathon is up. Home Depot recovering a little bit. We talked about Arcimoto. Let's see what we got in Nvidia. There we go. All right, so currently sitting at 190. Ooh, that's not bad. Okay, so this is one that Nvidia is one that I should have taken a position in and it didn't. So you can see the price action that they've had, and I thought about it. And back when I thought about it, I was like, it's probably a little bit too rich. And then we had this sideways trading right around here through December, and I thought about it some more. And I was like, you know what? I wanted to pull back a little bit, you know, and then I'll consider taking a position. And then we see this next little ramp up here. So it is kind of peaky right now. It is kind of high. Let's bring up the analyst estimates. So you can see we're currently near the average analyst estimate of 205. And today we're currently hitting that price wall right around 193. Oh boy, it just jumped again. These things are moving like crazy. Oh my goodness. 191.89. So high 191. It looks like we have a lot of sell side pressure. It looks like we have a lot of bulls coming in to help support some of that price that we're currently seeing at it. So that'd be interesting to watch that happen. Look at that short interest spike. That's crazy. All right, institutions. A lot of institutions holding on, some decreasing, some sold out. 66.69% institutional ownership on this. That's good. That'll be good for holding on to some of that volatility. And I thought I saw a price upgrade. Let me see stock picks. Investor Business Daily coming out with some more. Acquisition for ARM will take longer than expected. Ah, there we go. DJ, Nvidia price target raised to 185 a share from 150 by Deutsche Bank. So we're already trading above that. Maintained at hold by Deutsche Bank. Price target raised to 185. Credit Suisse puts it at 225 a share from 175. So let's look at the chart on this one. So the price action that we have this time, given the prices that they have, we did peak at 208. We're currently sitting near those price targets for 12 months out that are just being newly issued. So even though we have a little bit of maybe like a big bullish pennant formation coming out of here, I don't see a huge breakout to the upside for Nvidia in the near future. For me, if this pulls back significantly, let's see where the analyst estimates are again down. I don't think we're going to hit 110. But should we come back to the 200-day, I would absolutely consider taking a position in Nvidia. I like where that's at. Now, mind you, I'm talking about myself. These are self-reflections. Everything I do here is for entertainment purposes only, like show you pictures of a pillow that says long ether. I'm not licensed to give financial advice. So when you hear about this, maybe you hear some information that you like, but you still need to do your own research, due diligence, and make your own decisions. So with that disclaimer out there, yes, if this pulled back to the 200-day like we saw back here where it's acting as support, I think it would start getting cheap enough where I would have like a 20% upside to some of those analyst estimates that we saw around 185. That would make me think that I actually have a good shot at making some money off the deal. Where it's at right now, I don't know that I have enough incentive based off the analyst estimates to really push me into that. All right, let me look at some of the other ones that are out here. I do like Nvidia though. That one's also one of my favorites. I feel like I should be in on that one. Palantir holding about even from yesterday. So I've had these lines drawn in here for, oh my goodness, for a few days now. Sorry for the jumpiness. Maybe my computer had too much coffee. There we go. Just so we can see some of the lines, some of the price action. I said I'd be surprised when we saw this big candle happening. Was it yesterday? No, it was actually back on the 12th. I think it was last Thursday. I said I'd be surprised if we broke 26. And then we had this day, and it looks like the 200-day, by the way, is acting as decent support for us. That 200-day is about to cross over our other support line here at about 24.41. I think that we're going to be stuck in this range for a little bit between 24.40 and 26. I think Palantir is going to prove itself a champion over time. And I think that people are starting to wake up to it a little bit more. ARK Invest, with the prices that we're seeing currently, is still investing heavily in Palantir. And this most recent sell-off that we had, I thought, brought in more opportunity for us. And they put out some Q2 numbers that were very strong. And I think that they're going to continue to be strong and offering small businesses a chance to see the services that and the opportunities that they can bring and the optimization that they can bring through their AI and machine learning and their ways to deal with big data. I think it's just going to be incredible, and I think it's going to be huge. And I think that data is king. So one of the reasons why I think that Tesla is going to be huge is the data that they've collected, and I think Dojo having their own supercomputer for their own company, I think is also going to be huge for them as well. So the data is king idea is another reason why Palantir, I think, is absolutely one of my favorites, and why I think that they'll fill out the space really nicely over time. And I think that we will come back eventually to break this mark that we have in the high 20s that will overcome that. I don't know how soon in the future it's going to be. Let's get through this most recent area of turbulence, and then we'll reassess from there. However, I am bullish. I have a position in Palantir, and I plan on holding on to it for quite a few years. All right. Let's see what else we got moving here. Let's switch this around so that we start to look and see what's moving. DLO. Okay, D local, industrials, professional, commercial services, business support service, enabling merchants to connect with emerging market users. Company offers platform. Okay, application program interface. All right. So I don't know what the big news is today for DLO, but anybody who has invested in that, and the only reason this is up here on the symbols is because somebody asked me to talk about it, and so I talked about it. So we must have had some good news today to watch that gap up in that 35%. Okay, so Q2 gains top estimates, shares surge. So that must mean that they also have a pretty good outlook moving forward from there. And this is on the back of yesterday. So if you look intraday for it, mind you, if there's any companies you guys want me to talk about, you can go ahead and toss those down in the chat, and I'll talk about those companies. There's the after hours movement that we saw, and then we traded sideways through the after hours and pre-market before taking off again. We're in the overbought territory. I can most definitely see this thing settling from here, because typically that sort of jump isn't something that holds over time, that we usually get a 5 to 10% settling at least in the next day that follows. So we'll have to watch that for DLO and see where we think that they're going to go from here. Definitely volume supported with the jump that we see today for that sort of gain. So 2 million shares versus yesterday's open, which was only at 217. So 10 times the trading volume in the opening half hour versus what we had yesterday was actually pretty high compared to what we had the days that even led up to that. ASTI Solar. All right. Ooh. Here you go. Could you please give me your thoughts on trade? Sure thing, Dan. Ascent Solar, is this one moment here? Is this the one that you were talking about, Pyro, for ASTI Solar? I have ASTI and it's Ascent Solar, so I don't know if that's the one that you were discussing. So they're at about the bottom of where they were trading. Let me see some of the volume falling out of it. Definitely on a bearish trend, had the death cross. Where were they at? So they were up at almost 10 cents a share, and now they're back down at just under 1 cent per share. Okay, perfect. So something that I see about this that's a little bit different is coming back here off this low of 1.25 cents per share. So tiny company, trading volumes aren't bad on this one. The tops are actually, instead of getting lower than they were before, the tops actually have gone up a little bit. So we're getting higher highs. We're actually also slightly getting higher lows as well. So I don't know. Let me see. In trading volumes aren't near what they were before, but we also are in a consolidation phase, and also this sell-off. So I wouldn't say that we've broken the trend yet, but we do have a little bit of interest coming in off those lows. And right now we're sitting at about 1.5 cents. So where do we peak out here? 2.3. So about a 50% upside to that peak. So if this low holds on, let me see. Okay, engage commercializing flexible photovoltaic modules using its technology, manufacturing process to deposit multiple layers of materials, including a thin film of copper, indium, gallium, diselenide. Very nice. SIGs, semiconductor material. All right, so they could actually, if it's semiconductor related, then semiconductors could be one of those areas of potential concern for them, and one of the reasons why we see some of the sell-off that we do. So rotating out of that, maybe it's something that they could capitalize on. So 10 penny stocks to buy according to Reddit 2 days ago. So let me tell you, so this was Pyro who asked about it. Let me tell you about my YouTube experience. So I came to YouTube, and people would talk to me a lot in the comments on the videos that I made, the recordings that I made. and they would ask me about these really tiny companies. And, I check the news. There's absolutely no catalyst that I can see. I check out about the company. And a lot of times their financials would be terrible. There was no promise in sight of any sort of profitability. And they'd be like, what do you think of this stock? What do you think of this stock? And I'd have multiple people ask me about the same stock. And I'd say, there's a lot of risk in it. I don't really know any near-term catalyst that's coming up for it. So I'm seeing the news on here that and the thing is about Reddit-related stocks, some of that's been played out. So ever since the GameStop thing happened, a lot of that magic that seemed to happen, people would be asking me about that stock, and I'd be like, I don't know. And the next day or two, the stock would just take off, and they come back and they'd say, see, I told you so. So I don't know that hype plays out the same way anymore as it used to, because we're under different circumstances after GameStop and after AMC. And, after we see those different short interest plays and bring a lot of attention to Wall Street bets and Reddit, there's a lot more awareness out there. So if it is something that's receiving a lot of attention on Reddit, then it is something that, could be known, that wouldn't show up in the bigger news sources. So if there is going to be any sort of big jump, I would try and dig through Reddit and Twitter. And, you could also check out search volumes on Google and, see what's going on. If there is something coming up that we don't know about, some big play that people are talking about that they're getting really excited about, because that sort of excitement can cause momentum to happen, which can cause positive price action. So that's what I think about ASTI, Ascent Solar, ASTI, that we have here. It is different that it's starting to slightly trend upward with the highs and the lows. And, that could be one of those things that's actually causing that sort of excitement to come in. I figured we wouldn't get any data there. No institutional investment. Second quarter financial results. Funding agreement. Okay. Yeah. So I would dig through those message boards and see what they're saying. If that's what you're looking for a short-term play, if this is going to go in multiples. Otherwise, we don't have huge confirmation that we're breaking out of the bearish trend that we're on. Trading up above the 200-day would certainly help us, and trading up above the 50-day that we have here would certainly help us. All we really have to go on is some of the volume that we're seeing come back to the stock, and the fact that we're slightly trending upwards with the highs and the lows. So those are my thoughts. Could you please give me your thoughts on TRIT? Thank you, Dan, for being patient. By the way, I always aim to end at 10 o'clock. It's 10:17. So I'm going to start wrapping things up in the next few minutes. And just a reminder, if you like this channel, make sure in the videos that I put out, hit the like button and help that algorithm. And if you'd like to support me by supporting yourselves, there's the links for Moomoo, especially with the exchanges in Hong Kong being down right now. You can actually trade some of those stocks on the Hong Kong exchange by going through Moomoo, which is owned by Futu Holdings, which also trades on the New York Stock Exchange. Just something to consider there. You can get 4 free stocks valued up to 3,500. Weeble's also down there, so it's the link to the Patreon. Let's move on. Okay. So TRIT currently sitting at $5.17. It's down 3x from where it was at, almost exactly from where it peaked out at $15.45. Fintech company for us. So Triterra's trade and trade finance. The company operates cryptos. Okay, there you go. Blockchain enabled. Yep. Commodity trading, the finance digital platform. All right. Supply chain financing, accounts receivable purchases, finance loan. There you go. Perfect. Okay. Triterra's bolster structural finance teams with key appointments. Files planned with NASDAQ related to delayed annual report. I was just picking through the news to see if we had anything there. All right, so they're on a significant downtrend. However, this is sort of like what we saw with ASTI. Not quite. The lows are about even, but they're starting to get a little bit upward movement. The volume hasn't really changed for it, so we still have tapering. Also, the 200-day is negatively sloped, whereas it was positive for the other one. So, I mean, it's possible that in the near future that we see this low retested from where it's at. I would look for, well, actually, here's something interesting. On the RSI, we're about even. We actually have just the slightest climb in the RSI, but we still have that dropping in price. So it's possible if we watch this play out that we start to see some bullish divergence taking place. But we would also want to combine it with volume. We would also want to combine it with some sort of catalyst for the company that's coming up. So I don't know how Kratos is faring in the crypto space. That would certainly be something to take a look at and see how they're doing, because that's likely some of the driver that we see in the price action that's happening here. So the big drop off and then steadily downward ever since. And now finally it's starting to even out. So they may have found bottom right around 5.25. So I'm going right in between the highs and the lows since it started bouncing in between those prices. So with this narrowing, especially if the lows can continue to taper downward. The lows can taper upward, highs can taper downward. And when they start to pinch, we start to get more of a breakout in either direction. So maybe let me drop that and let's drop the moving averages, the RSI, and we'll put up the Bollinger Bands and we'll zoom out. There we go. So on the Bollinger Bands, you can see the tightness of the price action that we have, and they went crazy wide. So here they tightened, and then that narrowed, and then you get a breakout from there. And you don't know which direction the breakout's going to happen. So with Bollinger Bands, the narrowing of them signals is a signal that you can look out for an upcoming breakout. So what we see is one of the narrowest areas for their price action since, when was this? Since all the way back on October the 2nd, October the 7th, before they broke out, and then the price action went crazy. And like I said, it can be in either direction. And then prices usually tend back towards the mean from there. So with where it's at right now, if there is a breakout, especially because we're below this, I think it's the 20-period moving average that we have. Let me take a look to confirm. Yeah. So this is a Bollinger 20,2, so 20-period moving average. That's what we see in the blue in the middle here, and then 2 standard deviations away from the mean. So outside of 2 standard deviations away from the mean is where you get your unusual prices. So here, when they went outside this top line, those are unusually high prices, and following unusually high prices, you tend to pull back towards the mean. So that would be a good indicator of a sell signal, for example. Right now, these are very usual prices. Or even, let me zoom in some more for you. Here we had a candlestick where the wick just popped out of 2 standard deviations, and then we tended back towards the mean. Candlestick pop out of 2 standard deviations, and we tended back towards the mean. And right now, if it does happen to break out after this narrowing, because it is below the moving average, it could show us that it's going to be a breakout to the downside, which we could see this previous low. But hitting outside 2 standard deviations below this mean that we have down here could show us the next little upswing that it takes back towards the mean again. So thank you very much, Dan, and anything that I can do to help. So I really hope that it is helpful for you guys. So those are my thoughts looking at TRIT. It is bearish. We do have the narrowing of the Bollinger Bands, and we are below the moving averages, almost every moving average that we put up. So really looking to see why it's been trending downward, finding that answer, why it has trended down, and looking forward then to see what it's going to take in order for them to inflect back upwards again. Like I said, this breakout could happen in either direction. We might have a little bit more narrowing here, and it is a lagging indicator. Any moving average you have is based on prices that already have happened. They don't tell you what will happen in the future. So we can just see the nature of things for as they were, and somewhat as they currently are, but it doesn't tell us exactly what will be. So just be careful with that. So those are my thoughts on that one. Let me just scroll down through. Our friend Fisker, just floating below. Actually, I'm sorry. No, they're back up above $14 per share. So they are struggling price-wise right now. I think Fisker is going to do all right. I think they're going to hit production in late 2022 with the Fisker Ocean. They could be delayed because delays typically happen when products are first rolled out like that. So that's a possibility, but I think that I think we'll see good demand for the Fisker Ocean, especially if they can come in at the price that they expect, near 30,000 US dollars for their vehicle. And so right now we're just below resistance at about $14.50, $14.48. I think I have that drawn at, and we're at $14.26. And I still have the Bollinger Bands up here, and I know it's getting kind of busy on the charts here. Let's zoom out so we can see. I mean, Fisker, I mean, there's really nothing narrow about these Bollinger Bands unless we look all the way back. I believe that they joined via SPAC, and that's why we have this really tight price action here. And then the announcement happened, and we get very few narrow spots with their price action. Here, where we finally narrowed for a little bit, they shot up to over $32 per share. So for them, our next line of support is all the way down at off of the bottoms of the candles anyway, 12.26. So they have a fair way to fall. I think that they're going to push back through resistance. That's assuming that we don't get like a big EV sell-off again or something like that, because Fisker would definitely move right down along with them, where we'd start flirting with some of these other levels. Below 10, I think, is if we ever saw that again for Fisker, I think that would be a heavy load up zone, assuming that everything about the company is the same as it is now. I don't know that we're going to see that same sort. I don't think there's going to be the same panic, because I think a lot of the retail traders that did get very panicked and actually shown a negative light on YouTubers on that talk about finance and talk about stocks. You know, you didn't really see anything about YouTube frauds in the space until after that sell-off happened, and then there was a lot of shade and a lot of hate. And, you know, there may have been some people who were faking it all the way through. You know, I'm not saying that that doesn't happen, but the majority who are out there, no, I shouldn't say the majority. The majority of the people that I watch, you know, just watch their performance. Watch what happens with the things they talk about. You know, are they right over time? And you can decide those things for yourself. Stockmo, if you ever looked at his track record, at his performance record, especially when he first hit the scene, and if you listen to what he talks about for the fundamentals of the company, there's a lot of reasons why I stand behind him, why I frequently bring him up. I really think that he brings a service that's just not there from other YouTubers. Meet Kevin was actually doing that for a little while, and he's recently moved away from talking a lot about the fundamentals of individual companies to talking more about broad market analysis. So I think that each of those guys have their own little niche. And Larry Jones, Uncle Larry, I think that he does a phenomenal job talking about the stocks that he does, finding opportunities that he does, and also bringing perspective and emotional regulation to the people who follow him. You know, finding those little niches. I don't know that I've even found mine yet. I really do. I absolutely love live streaming, and I like talking about the stocks as they come up and what I see on the charts, and ones that I follow, being able to talk about the long-term outlook of them. I like interacting with you guys in the comments. You know, but back to my point, when we had that big sell-off, there was a lot of negativity put at the YouTube scene for people coming in and talking about stocks. And I hope that some people come back over time, that they start to realize that, you know, the YouTubers weren't to blame. And as far as actually, I absolutely love transparency. So like when people talk about hype and clickbait, if the hype isn't there at some level, and if the clickbait isn't there at some level, I can tell you from my own statistics, from my own data, and from the own performance that I've seen on these channels, if you don't do a little bit of it, people won't watch, and that's the naked truth of it. So if I put out a plain Jane boring old title with my boring old thumbnails, and I'm really not good at selling myself in that way, people don't click. If I put up something clickbaity and something that's a little bit more hyping, you know, to get people emotionally charged, which isn't really my style, it's hard for me to do that. Then people tend to click more because you got them emotionally charged. So can you blame the YouTubers who run their business in that way? Honestly, who's another one? Lark Davis. Big on crypto, has a lot of wonderful things to say, does a lot with clickbait and gets a lot of results from it. Now, mind you, highly quality channel, but people wouldn't know that the information was quality unless they actually clicked. And what gets them to click is that emotional impact that the thumbnails or even what they have in their titles have on them. So maybe I talk too much, maybe I go on too much, but I'm an educator at the end of the day. So leaving people informed over what they're seeing, over what they're watching, and the reasons behind all of it, why not talk about it, right? All right, so anyway, that's enough about that. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. If you want to support the channel, the like button's absolutely free and almost no effort on your part. So thank you for that. If you want to help yourself out with some free stocks and help me out along the way, those referral links for Webull and Moomoo are also down there. You can sign up and make your deposits and get your free stocks. And thank you in advance for that. And also, if you really want to step out of your way to support me, you can also check out the Patreon and what I have going on over there, and talk to me in the Discord on days or times when I'm not live streaming. So thank you very much. Hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.